It stopped? Oh, maybe it stopped. I thought I hit it one time. Okay, so let's go ahead. Take a comfortable seat. Close your eyes. Find the support beneath you. Lengthen your spine up towards the sky. And if you're comfortable, go ahead and begin to draw in your ujjayi. And see if you can get a sense with your focus on your breath of the movement of the rib cage in response to your inhale. Where do you feel the bones of the rib cage moving with the inhale? And remembering that with the exhale, using a little tone in the belly to really help the diaphragm to dome back up. So that the next inhale, you might even notice, you might feel more awareness about where the rib cage is moving and the full 360 degrees that it is capable of expanding. The robin, the blackbird, you ululate about tree placement and their place in it. Male blackbirds are everywhere, showing off and fluffing out, puffing out their chest feathers. 'Tis the season of bravado and such. Robins seem not to read the news. Their tweets have more substance than ours, if not urgency. If they panic, it is for a moment. A red-tailed hawk, a dog off the leash. Subsiding, they shimmy their feathers back in place, offer a single huff as commentary, and get back to living. Urgent needs start them chattering again. We could all use more singing. The robin, the blackbird will sing inconsolably, inconsiderately when the dread is worse. They will sing when it is coming, when it is here, and when it passes. They are like oceanic in their care, like the tides. They don't give two shakes whether the store's sold out of toilet paper. Like the tides, their songs are a tender mercy of mystery. There are only a few singing stones, a few pieces of sea glass from the tides to carry with you. One is shaped like gratitude. One glistens with light and shadow. One is so smooth it touches you when you touch it. These are kin you keep. And birdsong is probably the only timepiece you need. I wish I could give you words at night, the kind that could make your heart ache less. I wish I could hum away unwanted thoughts that seep under the door. I wish I could let go like an ebbing tide, like a Zen master. For now, we'll breathe and wait for the robin who is carefully selecting a branch by the window. At the bottom of the next exhale, release any control on your breath, but keep your awareness in what the breath does. And we're going to take and move into Kalabati breathing. If you want, you could take one of your hands and place it on the solar plexus, that place at the base of the sternum and the lower front ribs. This is where the pumping action of this Kalabati breath comes from. The rest of the body is not really undulating. This place is that source of power in those fast, rapid exhales. So take a deep inhale, a complete exhale, and then a partial inhale to begin. Exhale completely. Inhale and suspend your breath. Exhale, releasing. Taking another full inhale. Complete exhale. And again, partial inhale. Exhaling completely. Inhale, one more suspension, all at your own timing. Can you feel and allow the breath to move up into the chest, kind of like the breath puffs the chest out, like the blackbird allowing the feathers to open and lie back and down. And then when you're ready, you can exhale. You can release the hands. And just noticing what is it in the body? What happens after the Kalabati breath? Just join your hands in Anjali Mudra. We'll sing Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu together 3 times. Let's begin by chanting the sound of Om. Take a deep inhale. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Sukhino bhavantu loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Your next exhale, bow your head toward your heart. And then release your hand and lift your gaze. And for a moment, I just want to ask you if you have questions about the Kalabati while it's fresh in your mind. Any questions about that breathing?
Lynn, I get a little lightheaded doing that. Is that?
So what I would do, it's not abnormal to be kind of like, whoa, from, if you're not used to doing the breathing. What you might do is, usually I'll do like a count of, we're doing about 40 breaths. So you might stop around, say 30, Diane. See, or change the pace a little bit to better suit what's happening. But I wouldn't doubt that experience will change for you. Do others have that experience? You could raise your hand if you feel lightheaded after the Kalabati. Okay. Any other?
I have a question, Lynn.
Yeah.
I'm not clear. Is it through the nose or through the mouth?
Oh, it's all through the nose.
No, thanks. Okay.
Yeah, it's all through the nose. And, one of the key things, and I think we just aren't used to it often, is that we will often inhale too deeply, right? At the beginning of the Kalabati, we take too deep of a breath. You're only taking about a third, probably, of what is a full breath for you. If you inhale too deeply, which I always, for a long time, did, it's really difficult to get the rhythm going, because you can't exhale really rapidly because you still have this certain amount, there's always a reservoir of air. That's why at the end of the Kalabati, you have to exhale more, right? Before you can inhale and suspend the breath. So if you feel like you're having a hard time getting that pumping action going, I would say take a smaller inhale, right, before you begin, because it's almost just like you just start, right? You're just beginning the inhale, and boom, it goes. You probably notice that sometimes you're like, wait, I wasn't ready to start.
This is Jen. I have a question. I don't know if you can hear me with my connectivity, but I don't have a problem with lightheadedness, and I feel the smaller amount of breath, just a third and everything just right. But I don't feel it originating from my sternum. I try to make it come from that upper area, but it seems that it's coming from down lower in my stomach, like in my abdominal muscles.
It's definitely abdominal. The power is coming from the abdominals because it's doing those forceful exhales, and it's low. It's definitely not up here. It's right at that solar plexus. So if, sometimes people are like, where's the solar plexus? So the solar plexus is going to be at the bottom of the sternum, right in that space where xiphoid process, you feel the xiphoid, you feel the lower front ribs. It's going to be right there. That's where this is. That's where that chakra is. This is fire, right? This is the heat, and this is the pump. So when you feel the abdominals, that's definitely what's making it happen.
But what I'm feeling is the abdominals going back instead of the solar plexus going up.
No, the solar plexus is going out. So it's pushing. When I exhale, I'm going that way with my breath. So it doesn't feel to me as an upward movement as it is more a pumping a little more. So it's going to be more here. I don't even know if you can see, but my torso, this part of me is quite still, but this part of me is pumping. You can see it from the front. You can see the abdominals moving a little here. Right? So you're probably doing it right, Jen. You probably get it. Yeah, this part of me is quite still, not undulating, not moving. My torso is staying steady. It's the work of this area. Yes, Lise?
Yeah, it can be easy if you don't really settle into your sit bones to arch your back.
Yeah, sure. You might be going.
As
Sometimes people get a real rocking motion this way. You're just gonna sit, and I like this idea, and we'll explore with it more maybe. I don't feel my spine moving very much. You know, I don't feel it moving a lot. My spine itself. So I'm not arching this way. I'm not lifting here. I'm just allowing it to come right here. I remember this being difficult, and so I'm glad to hear your questions. And we'll keep working with it, okay? Thank you for asking. All right, so let's go ahead, let's come up to standing. And we're gonna go over to a wall, and we're gonna open the back of the calves and think some more about where the back of the respiratory diaphragm is, okay? And if you missed the very intro to class where we were locating the respiratory diaphragm, I want to invite you once again in standing, take the hands and go, remember, go from here, the front of the ribs. There's the front of the respiratory diaphragm is under those ribs. It comes all the way around. Take your hands, go around the back and find your lower back ribs. Where are they? Prod them, ouch. You'll feel the lower back ribs where they join the spine. And you'll also feel there's this place, you feel the ones that are really solid, but you can also feel the ones that disappear. They don't connect to the rib cage. Those are the two floating ribs. So just get a sense of the front and the back of the diaphragm. And then go ahead and walk over to your wall spot and take your right foot back and your left foot forward. We'll take hands straight up the wall. So right foot straight back, left foot straight forward. We'll take hands on the wall. We'll walk the hands up. And then with the next exhale, bringing the left shin forward. Reaching back into the right heel. And then if you go ahead and bring your felt sense to the back right, feel how the rib cage and the back right diaphragm, doesn't it feel a little narrowing towards the midline of your spine? So broaden your back right respiratory diaphragm. Broaden the back right ribs. And when you do that, you might even feel that actually turns the rib cage slightly to the left. So we often compress the back of the diaphragm. We often shorten and feel tension in the low back. So we're going to work with how does this open up that space. So broadening through the back right. Back right at the lower back ribs. Reaching all the way back into the right heel. And then let's transition. We'll slide the hands down the wall. We're going to bring the forearms to the wall. We'll go to Anjali Mudra with the hands, forearms on the wall. See if that's easier to open the back right ribs. The back right diaphragm. Broadening, opening. And then we'll push away from the wall and switch legs. Left foot back, left heel, left foot pointing straight ahead, right foot forward. We can take hands up the wall, bend the right knee. And you might initially notice if you that your lower front ribs kind of jut forward. So you're gonna press into your hands and press into that back left heel. And then take those lower front ribs down a little bit. And what happens at the back of the rib cage? So you're taking the inner body, that part of you that wants to fall forward and reaching it back. Letting that transfer back. So that then at the back left diaphragm, can you broaden it out to the left? And you could either stay here, or if you want, you might slide the hands down, bring the forearms on the wall. They're still as high as you can get them. Hands are in Anjali Mudra. Does that make it easier for you to really broaden at the back left? Push away from the wall and take your hands to the wall. And let's have the hands at about the height of your shoulders. And then go ahead and step right foot back. And we're going to take like a half Uttanasana with our hands on the wall. So once again, if we allow gravity to take us, then the front of the rib cage falls down to the ground and you feel the back body is going to shorten a little bit. So you're going to take and how do you broaden at the back of the respiratory diaphragm? How do you keep that space broad there, not shortening up? Opening, almost like it fluffs up back there, like the birds when they really fluff up their feathers and they make themselves look bigger. So back of the respiratory diaphragm, broad and open. Great, all right. And then let's go ahead and walk back towards the wall. And let's come back to your mat and you can grab some of your blocks if you need them. Grab our blocks. Let's take a wide stance. We'll put the blocks down on the floor. I might have a blanket handy because we're going to take a wide-legged forward fold and we're going to rest our head upon something. So for some of us, that might be a block. For some of you, it might be a blanket. A block might be too high. Well, let's go ahead, hands on the hips. And when you're ready, exhale, come forward. And you exhale, you're still bowing forward depending on the length of your hamstrings and what you've already done today. And just making an adjustment to find something for the head to rest upon. I'm going to balance the weight between the heels and the ball. So I still want some weight on my heels, but I don't want it all on, I don't want it all on my toes. I want it to be on both. I'm going to take a moment to get the height right. There might be a little more weight forward on the ball of the foot, but don't lose the heels. And then once again, can you find a little more presence, excuse me, and be broad at the back of those lower ribs? Where's the back of your diaphragm? And how do you widen at the back of the diaphragm? Remember that it's lower, where those back ribs that you palpated earlier, where are they? And how do you put more width across them? And that's right. And I think, Sandra, I don't know what your head is upon, but it might change. You might be able to drop it even more if it's okay with anything to do with your eyes, which I might not know about. That looks great, Annette. It looks really broad across there. Exactly, Diane. Yep. Good. Yeah. And hopefully this looks better. Sandra, do you feel more broadness across the back of there? Yeah. Great, Jackie. All right. And then we'll shift the weight back. We'll shift the hands up to the hips. And we'll come all the way up to standing. We can step the feet together. And let's take a block or two. And we're going to take a triangle pose. Okay? So we'll step the feet wide again. Let's go to your right. So we'll go to your right. And so before we go, one more time, let's take the thumbs and find those lower back ribs. Where are they? Where's the midpoint? Where do they join your spine? So you get a sense of that. And then we'll inhale the arms out and exhale. As we take the pelvis away from the front leg and we come to triangle. So let's just take a moment to, if you bring your awareness to the back right, which is your down arm side, the back right diaphragm. Can you go ahead and release it and let it broaden there? Because once you let that lower right diaphragm release, you're going to find your torso actually rotates more. You'll find you were able to turn a little more. And let's take the top arm, if it's all right, and reach it long inside your left ear. Palm can be towards the floor. And then we'll inhale, come up. And we'll switch to the other side. We can take one or two blocks at the left outer shin. Inhale the arms out. And exhale, triangle. So just noticing when you come down, feel the space between the lower left ribs and the pelvis. This is on the down arm side. And if having your arm up is distracting, you can put that right hand on the hip if it's distracting you. But if you notice on that lower down arm side, do you feel how it's kind of maybe shortened? So take that side, the back of the diaphragm on that side, and what happens when you widen it? You widen it towards the left. You widen it all the way around, and you might find you're able to turn more. And if you want, you might bring that arm alongside the ear. But make sure that down arm side, that down rib cage, that down side of the left lower Diaphragm is still wide. Laterally, wide. And then let's inhale and come up. And we'll exhale, release. Let's step the feet back together. Tadasana. Inhale, lift your arms. And exhale, hands in front of the heart. One more time. Inhale, take both arms up. Now, oftentimes when we take both arms and we reach them up, we take a lot, we might be taking a little bit of a back bend. We might be shortening the space at the back between the lower ribs and the pelvis. And just for now, can you instead bring those lower front ribs down a little so you can soften the front of the diaphragm and broaden the back of it? When you do, you might feel like, but my arms come more forward when I do that. It's okay. Don't worry about it. You might find freedom to move the arms, but you're not moving them from back bending. And then release. All right, one more time. Let's have our blocks out in front, because we'll just go in a moment to Uttanasana and a lunge. So make sure there's plenty of room behind you. And let's bring hands in front of the heart. Notice where the weight is in your feet. And connect into the back of you, the back of your body, from your heels to the back of the pelvis, to the back of the ribs, base of the skull. And then release the arms. Inhale, lift your arms. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. And exhale, forward fold. In this Uttanasana, releasing all the way down. And once again, and when you're in this forward fold, can you allow the front of the diaphragm to relax up and in? And just there's a little transfer at the inner body to broaden at the back of the diaphragm. All right. And then we're going to inhale halfway. And exhale, step the right foot back for a lunge. Inhale, upright. I could take the back of those lower back ribs back as I come up. Like a fiddlehead opening out in the ferns. You're opening yourself up. And then you're going to inhale the arms out. And exhale, bow forward. Let's inhale, right foot forward. Exhale, left foot back. So once again, when you rise, see if you can lift more like a fiddlehead unfolding. Because down here, that's what's happening. The fiddleheads are beginning to come out. And you might add the arms or you might not. We'll inhale back out. And exhale, fold. Inhale, left foot forward. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway. And exhale, folding. Let's inhale, rise. And exhale the hands back, Anjali Mudra. And release the arms. So let's take tree pose. Tree pose, but let's use a wall so that we can work a little bit on this territory. So if you take 2 blocks and you're just gonna put them together to stand upon. And we'll have you stand on your right foot first. So the distance I am from the wall is really dependent on how high up I'm going to put your left foot, my right foot, your left. Because I just want that knee to just barely touch the wall. And we're going to balance the weight between the inner and outer foot. So standing on the right, left foot somewhere, left knee touching the wall. And then when you're ready, let's inhale and lift the arms. And can we notice that when we sometimes take the arms all the way up, for today, can we broaden, especially on the standing leg side? You might feel the back of the diaphragm get a little shorter there. How do you let it be a little wider, a little broader? You might feel the arms maybe come more into your forward space. And then we'll release. And we'll change sides. So we'll step down. And you'll place your left foot up on your little stack. Right foot comes up to wherever you're going to put it with that right knee just touching the wall. Notice where the weight is in the foot. And notice the tone at the inner thigh of the standing leg. Let's inhale, lift your arms. And if we take them up, sometimes some of us will find ourselves in a little bit of a back bend. So, and I especially notice this on my standing leg side. So I'm going to shift the weight, and I'm going to notice too, before I make a little shift, I also notice that there's more weight on my standing leg, outer heel, and little toe. And when I bring my awareness to the back of the standing leg side diaphragm, remember where that is? When I shift my inner body a little bit there, I notice the weight shifts in my standing foot to more the inner heel and big toe. And there's tone at my inner thigh. As I bring more space to the lower back diaphragm. More space there instead of narrowing it. And release. Boy, I'm going to be really curious if you actually could pick up on that. I'd be really curious if you noticed that in tree pose. We'll probably do tree pose again this week. And I want you to feel the weight shift when you're working with the back of the diaphragm. It's pretty cool. All right, so from tree pose, where are we going? Let's take our blocks back to the top of our mat. So we've got them. Hands in front of the heart. I have my blankets nearby. And we're going to inhale, lift the arms, Urdhva. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway. Exhale, downward facing dog. You can always use hands on blocks or hands on the ground. And it's true in downward facing dog as well, that for many of us, we allow the lower ribs to really fall to the ground, just like we did when you were at the wall at the beginning. So how do you strongly reach to the hands and all those things you know, and keep some space at the back of the respiratory diaphragm? How does that stay broad? And then let's inhale to plank pose. Can we slowly come very slowly through into plank? And how do I keep that space at the back of the respiratory diaphragm lifted? I don't do it by lifting my pelvis. How do I have my pelvis aligned in plank? And where does that lift at the back of my diaphragm come from? What I notice is that I'm definitely pressing firmly into my hands. So it's going to be broad across my upper back. And then we're going to go exhaling back to downward dog. One more inhale to plank. Use the full breath to get there. And when you're in plank pose, how do you keep the back of the respiratory diaphragm broad? That's a great adjustment, Jackie, so that the hips come a little lower without sacrificing that lift you have at the back of the diaphragm. At least that's great. That's it, Jackie. That looks excellent. Good, Ingrid. Yeah. Good. And then let's go back to downward facing dog. And let's lower the knees to the ground. And walk the hands back. Okay. So let's take, I think I'm going to go ahead and take pigeon pose. Pigeon or a figure four. Because some of you, pigeon isn't comfortable for your knee. So let me show pigeon first, and then I'll show you the alternative to pigeon. In pigeon, I'm going to take one of my blankets and put it at the top of my mat. That's going to be for my front leg. And I probably want a second blanket to go a little bit under my hip. Okay. And some of you have a bolster. If you have a bolster, this could be handy. And if you don't, no worries, you just don't. Okay? So if I'm gonna, in pigeon, I'm gonna take my right knee forward. Again, my right knee is off to the side. It's not directly in front of me. My right foot is on the floor. There. It's not on my blanket. I'm going to bring a blanket over to support my right hip. So there's a little bit of support under this right hip. And if I have a bolster, I'm going to bring it just to be alongside my my right shin, so that when I come forward here, the bolster is simply giving, and you could probably wad up a pillow. It's going to add some some support for me to broaden at the back of the diaphragm. So there could be this version of Pigeon. If I don't have a bolster, I'm still going to work on how do I broaden at the back of my respiratory diaphragm in Pigeon. If Pigeon doesn't work for me, I'm going to lie on my back and I'm going to have a little extra lift under my head for this one. So I'm going to lie on my back if I'm not doing Pigeon, and I'm going to put a little extra height under the head. Like I have 2 blankets and I'll put a little extra one under the head so that I have a little bit more length at the back body. We'll do the right little toe side here. So this is the alternative to Pigeon because I want to broaden at the back of the lower ribs. And when my head is on the ground, that would be harder to do. So that's why I've got more height under my head. Can you take one of those? And whichever one I'm in, whether it's Pigeon or the figure 4 with that elevation under the back of the head, which is quite important or it'll be harder to find. Can you bring the breath? See if you can get the breath to be behind those lower back ribs. Can you expand the space, especially on the right, the back right? Remember where the respiratory diaphragm is? Can you get underneath and inside there? And what happens when you do? What do you notice elsewhere as you broaden, especially the back right? And when I'm doing this, can I let go of any other worry, any other concern, and simply put my awareness in this place? Just like the birds, they don't linger. The cat was there, the cat is gone. And they return to normal. Can we practice not hanging on to things? All right. Let's take the other side. So if you're in the figure 4, you'll switch. If you're in Pigeon, you'll switch your props around so that the blanket will go under the outer left hip. It'll just give the left outer hip a little support. And the bolster, if you have one, is along that front shin. Otherwise, you're in the figure 4. And if you're in the figure 4, can it be the little toe side of the foot that meets the top of the thigh rather than the ankle? And you can completely relax if you want to, the lower right shin. Yeah. So Lynn, let go of the right leg. Let the right lower shin dangle. I mean, you've got to hold with your hands behind the right thigh, correct? Yeah, behind, there you go. Yeah. And then whichever pose we've chosen, can we be broad across that space at the back of the diaphragm. And can we, especially on the side that is the forward leg or the bent knee side. So if it's figure 4, it's going to be the left side of the low back. If you're in pigeon, it's that lower left back. And you might, Jackie, you might like taking that bolster alongside your left shin bone. On the other side, the shin. Take it to the other side. No, your other side. Take it to the right. Take it around to the right and go to the shin bone of the leg right there. The left leg, not the right leg, your left leg. Your bent knee side, Jackie. The bent knee. But not the thigh, the shin of the bent. There, pull it right up under your, no. Oh. See where your left shin is? Your left shin's coming across the front of you. Yeah, that's your thigh. There's your shin. You got it. There you go. Now put it right alongside and pull it back so it won't be in the way of your head. And then bow forward. There we go. That's better. Yeah, you pull that. Yeah. I know. Makes sense. All right. Okay, thank you. Go ahead and come out of your pose. Take another downward facing dog or puppy pose. Downward dog or puppy. And then we'll exhale if you're in downward dog. Knees come down. If you're in puppy, you walk the hands back. All of us are coming around to sit in Ardha Matsyendrasana 1. So you'll either sit on a block or on the ground. Bring the right heel to your left sitting bone, left foot across. So you could be seated up on a block or on the floor. You balance the weight in the hips. And we're going to turn towards the lifted knee. So you're turning towards your left. So you might clasp that front thigh. If you're seated on the ground, you might clasp it in the inner elbow. If you're up on a block, you're probably just holding it with your hand. Twisting around. You can either have a hand behind you. If you're on a block, you might have that hand on a second block or a blanket. If you're seated on the ground, you might just have the hand on the ground. Or maybe the hand is grabbing left hand to right wrist. And then on the back, right, ribs. Inside is the diaphragm. So can you broaden that all the way around? So if you're twisting to the left, you're going to broaden the back right. All right, and then you can release. And we can straighten both legs for a moment. And take the other side. So if you're seated on a block, that's completely fine. If having both knees bent like this is difficult, then you could just take Marichyasana 3 with your when it would be your right leg bent. Right leg straight, left knee bent. Something like this. Second side. Anyway, if you're up on a block, you're probably just holding that outer knee. If you're seated, you're clasping it. You're turning towards the higher leg. And then if you're turning towards the right, go to the back left. Go to the back left. Remember where the lower ribs are. Remember inside is the diaphragm. Can you widen it? Widen it to the side. All right, and then we'll release back to center. And let's take both legs straight. And we'll reach the hands back for a moment, fingers facing forward. We're taking Dandasana. So when we have our hands placed on the ground and the legs straight ahead, and now we lift up, so we feel a shifting here. When you lift through the top of the breastbone, then you feel how the lower back ribs come into the body and it opens the front of the diaphragm. And then we're going to release that. Come onto your back for a moment. So we'll come onto the back and we're going to take happy baby. So you might either hold on to the backs of the thighs, the shins, or the little toe side of your feet. And can you release the inner body from the lower front diaphragm to the back diaphragm? You'll feel more contact at the back of the respiratory diaphragm when you let go of the front. And you might notice a difference on the width of your feet. You can check in with yourself when my feet are closer together. What do I notice as I take them inch by inch apart? What happens at the center of the spine, at the lower ribs? And what's the right distance for you today that you feel for now you can make that really broad right there? All right, and then let's shift our hands. Let's bring the feet toward each other and take the knees apart. So now I'm holding onto my ankles. I have my knees apart, so I'm in kind of a reclined Baddha Konasana. I'm going to shift a little more into my lower back ribs, so I'm not going to arch my back. If I shift from the space at my lower front respiratory diaphragm more towards the back body, I notice that it becomes broader across that space where my lower ribs are in the back. And it also affects the distance that my knees end up being away from the midline. All right, I'm going to bring my knees together, feet to the ground, and roll over to one side. Use the arms to push myself up. And I want to do just a little seated pranayama awareness before coming down to resting. So I'm going to take whatever height I need. So I might take to sit comfortably. So I might take one of my blankets. Sometimes I really like folding them into thirds. and having that height, and I might take one more just so that I can get my hips up a little higher. Okay. And then I want a strap and probably a blanket on my lap. I'm going to bring a blanket on my lap to support my arms. And I'm going to take a strap, the tail of my strap, and bring it around my lower back ribs. So I want to find where are my lower back ribs. And I'm just going to have the strap right around those lower ribs. So I have some awareness there. And then I've got my elbows resting on my blanket, just holding my strap, just light enough that I feel the strap at the lower ribs. And when you're ready, you'll close your eyes. And starting with the next exhale, with the inhale, bring the inhale into those lower back ribs. It doesn't have to be forceful or symmetrical from left to right. I just want to notice when I have a little deeper breath and bring my awareness to those lower ribs. Can I bring my breath in there and expand that area? Feeling the ribs expanding right at that level of the strap. And then at the bottom of the next exhale, you can release this. And you're welcome to bring yourself down into Shavasana. Giving yourself whatever support you need. Covering yourself with a blanket. coming down and completely resting and releasing. The robin, the blackbird will sing inconsolably, inconsiderately when the dread is worse. They will sing when it is coming, when it is here, when it passes. They are oceanic in their care, like the tides. They don't give two shakes whether the stores sold out of toilet paper. Like the tides, their songs are a tender mercy of mystery. There are only a few singing stones, a few pieces of sea glass from the tides to carry with you. One is shaped like gratitude. One glistens with light and shadow. One is so smooth it touches you when you touch it. These are kin you keep, and birdsong is probably the only timepiece you need. I wish I could give you words at night, the kind that could make your heart ache less. I wish I could hum away unwanted thoughts that seep under the door. I wish I could let go like an ebbing tide, like a Zen master. For now, we'll breathe and wait for the robin who is carefully selecting a branch by the window. And then allowing your own breath to awaken and deepen. And mindfully making a transition to one side. And using the support of the arms to come back up to sitting. Bringing the hands in front of the heart. Namaste. Thank you so much for your presence, for your individuality, for your own song.